Hi, this is Dan. I hope you're doing really well today. I've got so much to teach you in this lesson. By the end of this one, you're going to know so much. It is quite a dense lesson, so feel free to rewind if you want or save it just to watch later. I'll send you to a link that goes into some of the concepts I'm talking to you about a little bit deeper. So don't worry too much about that. But the first thing I want to do is just to play root notes and match the kick drum. So we're going back this fast. Bass drum's going like dun, bum. So I want to be tapping my foot. This is something I want you to practice too. And be thinking in 16th notes, which there are 4 in every beat. Okay. Other than that, I'm just going to be hitting the letters that you see on the chord chart. See how I was just playing the D's and the G's just in different registers of the bass. And that's the first thing to do, is just to play in time to the backing track, playing those notes with the kick drum. You don't have to match the kick drum each time, but if you listen to bass lines, a lot of the time that does happen. Let's add a little layer onto that by playing fifths. I'll get into these concepts a little bit later, but a fifth is just the 5th note up the scale. So you could either just go like D, E, F, G, A to find where the 5th is, or just this little trick here. So if I'm playing D on the 5th fret of the A string, you just go 2 frets across and drop 1 string down. You've automatically found the 5th. That 5th can be put down the octave. In Latin music, they use that a lot, fifths. I can also play the root note up the octave, which is now just 2 across and 2 down. Patterns happen so much in the bass, and it's really worth your while learning them and memorizing them as quickly as you can. So I've got a root, a 5th, an octave, and that 5th down the octave. Let's see how that sounds. Hotel California is a really good example of a bass line that more or less just does that. Root notes, 5ths and octaves the whole way through. And a lot of pop and rock bass lines are about hooks or riffs, and that's drawing the listener's ear in. So if you can create that through notes, great, but you can also create it just through rhythm. So you can just do really, really simple notes and have a rhythm that is the same, and the listener's ear can latch onto that. So we've got roots, 5ths and octaves, and you can make great bass lines up doing that. Every single chord in this entire piece of music, you can just find the letter. So D minor 7, you play your root, 5th in your octave, and those notes just on their own can be used to create a bass line. But we want a bit more than that, don't we? So I'm just going to try and be as concise as possible to explain this next little section here. But this is the key. We actually do move keys throughout this piece, and that's the fancy word for that is modulation. But it's based around C major. And from that C major scale, which is just simply a collection of notes, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, we can draw a number of things. The first is a triad. That's literally just you take the 1st, 3rd, and 5th notes, and that's a triad. If you add the octave onto that, you get just a C major arpeggio. As you can see in the chord symbols here, we have these number 7s. So what you do is you just go 1, 3, 5, 7. We're going up in thirds each time. If you know your scale off by heart, and I really recommend you know this major scale back to front, you can actually just go to the 8th note, which is the octave, and down 1. And you have a C major 7 arpeggio. All an arpeggio is a chord played separately. So your guitarist friends and your piano keyboard players, they'll be playing these notes together, and you'll be playing them separately. And these how these things marry up. So that's another thing that you need to know, is the arpeggio or chord tones means the same thing underlying each chord. That was just on C, though. That was on the 1st note of the C major scale. There are actually 7 notes in the C major scale, and you can do that same idea, getting your triads, and this is harmonizing the scale for each of the 7 degrees of the scale, and you end up with this. you end up with a set of 7 chords. And musicians number them with Roman numerals. Uppercase for major, lowercase for minor. This right here is just one of the most important things that you can learn as a bass player. If it looks a bit scary, don't worry, it sort of is if you've never done it before. But this is at the heart, at the key, pun intended, because it is all about keys in music. This is at the heart of music. By knowing this, you're going to be able to hear music better. You're going to be able to make up your own stuff, actually. So let's look at this. Here we have it there. We've got the 2 chord and the 5 chord that I've taken for this piece of music. So this is a 2-5 chord progression. And the 2 chord is D minor 7. That's our arpeggio for it. The G7. Okay, so we could just use those. It might be too much. I might be using too many notes. So let's take away. We've got the root, 3rd, 5th, flat 7, octave. Let's take away the 3rd. It actually happens to be the same pattern for each of those if you take away the 3rd, right? These notes outline the chord really well and they sound really good. Let's dive in and see what that sounds like. That bit there where it goes to the B flat major 7, something weird happens. But it's not actually that weird. If we go back to our Roman numerals here, there is only one place in this entire progression of harmonized chords where a minor 7th is followed by a major 7th and they're one semitone apart. The semitone is when you're on consecutive frets, so like, you know, from 7 to 8, that's a semitone. There's only one place that happens and it's between the 3 and the 4 chord. Look at this closely. We have this going here, but in reverse. We've got a B flat major 7 going to an A minor 7. That's a 4 to a 3. It's a dead giveaway. It's the only place in a harmonized major scale where you get a minor 7th and a major 7th semitone apart or half step apart. That's the clue. This is going to help you with your ear because if eventually you understand this, you practice it enough times, you'll learn to hear this and immediately you'll hear that difference and you'll be able to go to it immediately, okay? Reverse engineering this. If the B flat is the 4, the A minor 7 is the 3, then a G minor 7 will be the 2, and then our key would be F. So we're sort of technically going into the key of F here, 4-3 progression in the key of F. And then look, there's another one just simply a tone down from there. It's another 4-3 progression now in the key of E flat. So if all that sounds a bit weird, you probably want to go through it again and probably go to the other lesson I've done that goes a bit deeper into harmony. But all we have here, we've got 3 basic keys that we're in. And you as a bass player need to know that because you can then create lines. But actually it comes from this same set of 7 chords. And once you learn that honestly, that's like, it's a huge light bulb moment and you will be able to play hundreds and hundreds of songs much easier now. And you'll be able to hear it better and you'll be able to transcribe things better. Right, so we've done 7th. We didn't do it on the B flat major 7 though. So without the backing track, B flat, I'm playing that 6th fret of the E string. We've got that root 5 octave. Think of that, this little skeleton that all of these chords have. A major 7 is literally just right next door to an octave. Okay, that's the B flat major 7. I'm going down 1 fret to the A. Almost the same, but a minor 7 which is notated by a lowercase m and a 7. The minor 7th is located 2 frets down. This is just something you learn once or twice, and then you don't have to think about it anymore. You know it. So then we'd go down to the A flat, exactly the same chord progression. We actually have lots more options now. Those are the entire chords for the whole thing. Notice that last chord, the G7. That sets us up nicely, sets the listener's ear up. to go back to the beginning again. Let's see where we are now, and I'm just going to do that idea now of roots, fifths, octave, and then the seventh of the chord. I'm not going to use the third at all. You hear that? We're building layers of complexity here, and this is the next step. So remember when I said we're in the key of C major, and those are the notes, which is it's a scale, okay? Every single one of the notes of the C major scale had its own triad arpeggio, and we got the 1, 2, 3. We got all those chords denoted by the Roman numerals. Well, actually, every single one of those chords has an underlying scale, and this is modes. And this is another thing that you really need to know, and it's not actually that difficult. Like a C major scale is a mode. The C major scale is easy. It's just C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, okay? And you just go from the C, go through the letters of the musical alphabet till you hit the next C, and that's the scale. If you do the same for D, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, you get an entirely new scale called a mode, okay? And the mode on the second degree of the major scale is Dorian, okay? In this case, D Dorian. This is the mode or scale where that minor seventh arpeggio came from in the first place. This really is the gold dust here, because if you know both the mode and the underlying arpeggio, you've just increased your options by 1,000-fold. So that's Dorian. If we head to the mode that's built on the G7, that's the fifth degree of the scale, and we just go G to G, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. C major is nice to teach because there's no sharps or flats, but this works in any key, by the way. So without the backing track, that's how you're going to start to busy up your playing. John Paul Jones used these notes a lot. I mean, any bass player you can imagine, that's what they're doing here. If you tend to hear bass players that can be a bit more melodic, and those melodic bass players will use these ideas a bit more. Whether they know it's a mode or not, I don't know, but they certainly know these notes work, but that is what's going on. You're using modes here. Over that B flat major 7, that's the fourth. Remember that was the fourth of the F major key? And that mode is Lydian. And the chord a semitone lower, the minor seventh. That's your Phrygian, okay? It's very, very common. A major going down a half step to a minor is that thing of Lydian to Phrygian. That might be a bit too busy. What about something like this? So I'm going root, and then I'm just going from the third to the fourth to the fifth note, whatever that happens to be. Same when I go to the next one. That's quite simple, quite melodic, but you need to know the notes that fit and that work. Let me try and see where I am. I was playing them a little bit like scales there, just up and down, and I would recommend that you do that. I'll put all the modes that go with each chord on the PDF so that you can practice this. I'll put some shapes as well so you can practice this and not have to think about it too much. You can do solos with this as well, so let's do that. all I was doing there was that over the 2, 5, just Dorian notes fit. Over the B flat major 7 section, I had to change key, so I had to be very careful. So that sort of Lydian to Phrygian thing worked. And then when it went to the A flat, I then had to be careful to move to that. Otherwise, it would have been wrong. Okay, there would have been wrong notes going on. So far, we've come quite far. And these are just the ideas that are coming off the top of my head as I'm teaching you this. But as you're going, you'll have your own ideas from this. So for example, there's your root, your 5, your octave, and the minor 7th in this case. Then when I go to the G, that's just some of the note of the mode, which is the mixed Lydian mode. By the way, a 2 to a 5, a very good bass line that highlights that is. It's just Dorian to Mixolydian. You'll hear this in every single style of music. That's why you really, really need to know this. You really, really need to explore this. But what I would do with this is I would definitely download the backing track, follow the link to my website. I'll put all the other lessons that you need to know. So for example, knowing all the notes, intervals, that's your 5ths and your minor 7ths, things like that. Your modes, and what else is the harmonizing of the major scale. I know there's a lot there, but if you need to know what to practice, just practice this, because when you then go to listening to bass lines and figuring those bass lines out, you're going to be hearing this. There's probably one more thing that I'll leave you with, and that's this. If you're on a minor chord, lowercase m, then a minor pentatonic scale, perhaps you already know that. Again, I've got a lesson on it and I will put that all in order. A minor pentatonic works over that. And over a major chord, a major pentatonic works. And those are very open, simple sounds where kind of none of the notes sound wrong. So you can use those. Major pentatonic over major, minor pentatonic over minor. See what that sounds like. I was deliberately being a bit busy there because this is practice. So when you're practicing, you don't necessarily have to come up with a proper bass line. You can just explore ideas. And literally all I did there was minor pentatonic over minor, major over major. So I know that I've covered a lot here. I've covered a lot of theory, but I've also covered, hopefully, some of the ways that you can use it. Look at the end there. I'm doing slidey stuff, for want of a better word. Slide. Hammer-ons. These are articulations. You need to be able to have complete command. I've just written a book, actually, Complete Fingerstyle Bass Technique, that goes through all of that kind of stuff. Your technique needs to be so good that when you're thinking about these theory ideas, you're not thinking about your technique. And then eventually you're not thinking about the theory ideas because it's all in your head. I've obviously been playing a long time, so I know this stuff. And I know that I've presented you with quite a few ideas here. But just take one thing at a time. Just take the root note and just play it along to the kick drum. Just do that. You're in this hopefully for the long run. Practice as much as you can, a little bit every day. Write down in a journal what you're doing and just progress each time. So root note, then do the 5th, then do the octave. I don't know what those arpeggios are. Well, study that. Go through this lesson again. Go through my other lessons. And honestly, this sort of handful of information that I've given you will take you incredibly, incredibly far. I've got tons more lessons on my channel, so check those out. I'm sure you have a question or two. Please do leave a comment below if you do. Otherwise, if you got something with this, please like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. And hopefully I'll see you next time.